Welcome. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
He's dead, Tim.
Welcome to Dunder Mifflin. This is Pam. How can I help you?
All right. Well, welcome to the bonus content. So, Anthony Bourdain just passed away. Well, he
did.
Committed suicide.
He passed away.
He did. I mean, and so did Kate Spade. I mean, it just seems to be kind of a, I don't know, it seems like kind of a trend. I was reading a stat earlier today that this is actually suicides on the increase. Have you guys seen
like
this stat?
26% increase or something like that.
Like
something crazy.
Amount, yeah.
Yeah, that like it seems that it's a growing cause of death in the first world, and it's a very concerning thing. I haven't looked at the stats because one of the first things I normally look at when I see like a huge uptick in some kind of public health crisis is what's the economy doing, because usually there's a lot of financial stuff that can drive this.
Yep.
Now the economy has had some impact on mental health and in suicide rates going forward. But this one, when you see someone like Bourdain pass away from suicide, it's not because he was broke. Money problems isn't what does that. And there's a lot of like the celebrity, like Chester Bennington, when we lost him, and you know
what's his face, the lead singer of Audio Slave. What's his name?
When you see someone who has been an integral part of somebody's life for like through their work that has taken their own lives that way, it really hits them, I think, a lot.
Well, harder. I know my wife Laura is a huge Anthony Bourdain fan. In fact, I get these notifications from Rogers every once in a while saying, hey, you got to stop downloading this, and I scroll down, it's like Anthony Bourdain, parts unknown. I'm like, not that I'm admitting to doing anything, Rogers. That's not what this is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she was a huge fan, and she was, obviously very upset to hear about his passing. And Anthony Bourdain is like, I enjoyed his stuff. I enjoyed his stuff.
I watched a ton of his stuff. It was back in the day when I had a lot of cable TV time. It was the late night show that was thrown on repeat sometimes on like History or Discovery or whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great I'm not a culinary guy by any means. I mean, microwave is about as fancy as I get. But the globe traveling and the commentary on just, all the parts of the world and all the culture and stuff like that. He was great for it, right? He really opened doors into parts of the world that we really didn't know much about.
And I think that's also getting to what you were saying earlier, Mike, that people affect us because, we watch them and we think, I think maybe there's an element where we're sitting there going, well, fuck, if that guy couldn't make it. But, I mean, obviously we don't make this a PSA for mental health here, but at the same time, it's really hard to kind of consider where you're going to be and what you're going to do when somebody you think might have it together that.
I think that's the thing that we get wrong often with mental illness is we think this mental illness is some sort of put together or not put together sort of perspective, and really it's not. It affects everyone equally of all economic classes, and some it in all stripes and colors. It does affect to a greater rate those who are poor and disenfranchised. Which if your life is tougher, then
that's a symptom.
Absolutely,
you have more to be upset about,
right? Yeah. Well, but even then there are. But we don't want to make the mistake of saying that those sorts of things necessarily they contribute for sure. But there are also a lot of people who go through their entire lives in a lower economic status who don't struggle with that.
Darth Josh, watch the nose there. Sorry, I know you're probably stuffed up, but do your best.
Stop doing cocaine, Josh.
All right, ready? Yeah, so I think it's kind of hard when we look at things of mental health. I've had my own struggles with both depression and anxiety. I know, I don't think anyone at this table or in this room can say they've never had an issue. I mean, I remember growing up, and it was like mental health was like, oh, you're crazy, you got to take these pills, et cetera.
Yeah.
Toughen up, or like the man
or
up sort of
worse,
attitude,
hey, those pills are of the devil. You shouldn't be taking those.
Oh God.
Yeah, like it's that world is still out there to a degree, and they have got to get in the 21st century. And understand.
I don't think we're to the point yet where mental health care is just health care.
No.
Why it's still considered a separate thing. It's not considered part of health yet.
Well, but it is very fluid. It does need its own approach to it because
I'm not saying that, but so does cancer. So does everything else.
I think where he's getting at though is it needs equal funding. It doesn't.
It needs normalization.
It needs normalization.
It needs normalization.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I won't
toot horns about workplaces, but I mean, I work in a field where I deal with mental health with my clients. And there are still a lot of times where I'll have people come into my office and say, I've talked to my doctor about this, and they said it's in my head. Or even worse, they've referred me to a social group or something like that. They refuse to treat it.
Or here's some pills.
Or even here's some pills can be tough because people read about them. They read about side effects. And more than most medications, antidepressants, it's kind of throwing a dart at a wall and seeing what sticks, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dosage adjustment and side effects. And you could go 5, 6, 7 medications before you get the right one and the right dosage where it's not making you dopey or crazy or a combination thereof.
Or the swings are all over the place, right? And it takes one really bad swing and that's it, right?
It can be,
and
absolutely.
Before they actually ever get their treatment. And back to the healthcare thing, though, because I think that's a big part of this, is that there just isn't funding for mental health care at all.
No,
like for the most part, like the level we treat it differently.
We do,
and not
I mean,
which is okay.
At,
it is different, but we don't treat it equally. And
I mean, look at most employer insurance plans, right? I mean, it's considered an extra benefit to being able to go see a counselor and have it paid for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unless you're seeing in Ontario, unless you're seeing like a social worker or like a
crisis counselor
or a psychiatrist who's part of a medical like doctor's office or a hospital.
Yeah.
That's not paid for.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any sense because it is still healthcare.
And
why
should
should it be
something like the 5th most expensive disease in the world or something like that? Like it's,
I believe it.
I believe it.
Yeah.
The
look
other thing,
look what it's costing the U.S. economy right now.
Yeah.
One thing I find as well
bad joke
with mental health, and I mean, we can talk about causes, and there's no shortage of them, but mental health, specifically depression, is very commonly a secondary illness to another illness. You'll have a physical condition, a pain-causing condition, or a disability that'll prolong, and after about a year of dealing with that, most people will at least have some flighting thoughts of depression, and it kind of festers from there. So a lot of times, it's people that are just trying to cope. And it's hope, right? They lose hope. Dealing with the same issue every day, it's draining.
Well, absolutely. And I think that we're probably going to wrap up the show because, again, this is a serious topic, especially with what's going on in the world today. And I mean, we joke a lot on the show. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Especially about things like, oh, someone's crazy or et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I mean, we want to let anyone else know out there, hey, if you want to talk, we're here.
We're here.
And if I can, Tim, I hope I don't put you over the episode limit, but for people who might be out there that are struggling, please know there are services available. They are free services. In Canada, we have the Canadian Mental Health Association that has chapters all over the province and various provinces. They have crisis lines that are free to call 24 hours a day. Don't be afraid to talk to your doctors about it. For listeners in the States, I believe there's the suicide prevention hotline in the States. And especially for people in either equity-seeking groups or people dealing with long-term medical conditions, it is very normal. Don't feel like it's a sign of weakness or anything like that to reach out. It's normal. Yeah. So don't hesitate. If you need help, reach out, ask for it.
It took me years. It took me many, many, many years to acknowledge that I had an issue with depression and anxiety. Yeah. Because I had these things. I had I'm like, oh, well, it's like this is for people who have this or that or something like that. And, and I went through a spell on antidepressants for a while. And frankly, it made me better. And you know what? Don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, worst case scenario, just ask for help. It's tough. It really is tough because, especially if you grew up in circumstances where that wasn't really like
an option
or
wasn't culturally accepted.
I'm not saying that, my parents were like all anti-mental health, something like that, but it's more like there was
culture's
culture. Culture's culture.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
So, you know what? I mean, if you need help, there's help available.
Let's put it this way.
Not alone.
If you have been dealing with feelings like this, or if you've been feeling this down, and if you've been doing that for longer than 6 months, anyone who tells you it's just a phase is probably a well-meaning but wrong person. Just you have to go talk to somebody if you've been feeling down for that long. It's not even 6 months. I don't know what the cutoff time is.
It's less.
It's less than that. But
I'll put it out here to our listeners. If any of you are feeling like you need to talk, send us a message. We'll make sure we'll connect you to somebody. Okay?
Absolutely.
We'll do that, all right?
Absolutely will.
Not that we're the most connected people, but we'll make sure we'll do our best. Okay.
And you know what? If I can close it out, maybe on a bit of a lighter note. Like I've been to a psychiatrist before. Delightful, great guy. When I was dealing with some issues of my own, and I was talking to him about dealing with anxiety, and dealing with depression, that kind of stuff. And he asked me questions about my life, and to get the feel of the environment in this office, the guy's like super Irish, right? So he's like this older, almost retired Irish.
Talking about teachers.
Hi, Boyle. What's wrong with you?
It was great. Like,
You just need a wee drama whiskey.
It's incredible to actually. He did say, "I think you need to put your feet up." Is one of the things he said. Well, I remember talking to him about some of the history that's going on.
I don't know. That's all I know.
And he basically said, "So if I've got your history right here, it says here that you've been married for almost 10 years and that you've got 6 children and that you're dealing with a lot of stressors in your life, and that you're feeling a little bit stressed." Is what you're saying? I'm like, well, yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to do. He said, "So what you're saying is you're a normal person." And it's amazing to hear it in that voice from that office. But it's another thing. It's like one of the biggest things that he said there was so helpful was, so what you're saying is you're a normal person. Yeah, and you know what? Anyone who struggles with this, you're a normal person. You're a normal person.
You're a normal person.
You're not broken or weak because you're dealing with this. So yes, like recognize the symptoms, recognize when it's not just a phase, and just get in front of somebody.
Help. Absolutely. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us for the bonus. We did not mean to make this a PSA, but you know what? We'll call it a PSA.
Sure.
Anyway, for 2 and Change, I'm Tim.
I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And Rob.
We'll see you next time.